maidens a milk and did go. 3 maidens a milk and did go. And the wind it did blow high, the wind it did blow low. It tossed their petticoats to and fro. So it's off to the green woods went they, and it's off to the green woods went they, and he tapped at the bush, and the bird it did fly in, a little above her lily white, her sparkling eyes they did turn round, just as if she had been all in a swoon, and she cried, "I've a bird, and a very pretty bird, and he's pecking away at his own ground. He's a help to the bird in the bush. He's a help to the bird in the bush. And we'll drink up the sun, we'll drink down the moon, that the people say little or much."
Hello, welcome back to the Ineffableelse. Welcome to another episode in the series all about Jupiter. As I'm recording this, Jupiter is at 1 degree of Aries, which is curious. It's the first sign, the first degree of the entire zodiac. And this video will focus on Jupiter in Aries, Jupiter in the first house, Jupiter conjunct with Mars. Very interesting, that energy of war combining with the energy of expansion. It can be a little bit shaky, a little bit hot off the press and quick to react. A big blessing for you here with it being in this kind of very independent energy is that it's all up to you, it's all down to you, and it's all for you. So expand for yourself, expand to make yourself the person that you want to be, and then go beyond that. It's that warring thing between doing what you think is your highest benefit and aiming in that direction, and then allowing the process to carry you even further than you had imagined. How big can you dream? How wide and vast and large can you make yourself? What is your highest aspiration? And often when we get broken down into these little archetypes, we go into something very small and very personal and very trivial, when Jupiter just wants you to pull it up, make it bigger, make it broader, make it better, make it bolder, make it... With the energy of both Mars and Jupiter, you're working with fire. Fire expanding in the mutable sense, and cardinal in the sense that it's moving forward. It's unstoppable. It's really, really powerful. But what is the flavor of your fire? How much is it burning others, and how much is it truly seeking truth? Jupiter is all about the truth. And I didn't mention this much in the introduction, but it is about finding the deeper, truer reality of all things, stripped back, naked and bare. And with the Aries quality here, you can be really, really adept at making sure other people's opinions just don't touch you. You say the thing that needs to be said. And how do we define love is quite different from a true loving state of being. Love is often associated with pleasing people, doing what other people want, doing things that make them happy, doing things that make them smile. Really is nothing wrong with making people smile, don't get me wrong. Not looking for you to attack others. But in terms of a bigger, broader picture, if someone has come to you asking advice and they are suffering, maybe consider not just calming them down and soothing and saying something that needs to be said, especially if it's behavior which is cyclical and they are asking you for help and they're asking you for advice. Sometimes it can be the moment to tell them, I am aware of the information that you have been lied to, or you are lying to yourself, or something like this, something which may seem controversial and like it will rock the boat, but the boat was meant to be rocked. And sometimes it doesn't require saying anything, it actually requires not saying something, not participating, not getting dragged down into idle talk and to useless nattering about nothing in particular, which you know will be cyclical. It's much better to take a step back, take that higher ground, as I have done here. I've come up to the top of this hill, and it broadens your perspective, and it makes you feel more in touch with the whole, with the entirety of humanity and with all of creation, without needing to feel dragged down into the little daily toing and froing that humans like to engage in. And there's a wonderful independence with Aries and a wonderful ability to carve your own path and just be that change that you want to see. It's corny and it's true. Really walk on the earth as you know whoever your highest idol is. Never think on them. Always just encapsulate those qualities within yourself and just keep it steady, keep it a kind of stability within yourself. There can be a tendency to burst off in all different directions. Do take advantage of that creative energy, but there's no need to allow it to splay off in one direction. It's much better to kind of harness it and take it within. Because anything you produce in the external world is lovely, it's fantastic, but nothing is better than cultivating your own inner peace and your own inner sanctuary. And with a kind of independence of the first house, you can really do that. You don't need anyone's permission to do anything either. You don't need anyone's approval once you've done it. And you can just behave as you see fit. With the Jupiterian nature, really try to see what is fit, what is befitting, what is fitting you and your soul and where you want to be. Analyze everything around you in the moment. It's like a full-time job. When you become a truth seeker, nothing is more interesting. Nothing can get your attention. Even if you're watching something on TV, you'll be looking for the intention of the writer, you'll be looking at the astrology of the actors, you'll be looking at what is actually being put across here, what is the intention and the deeper meaning behind all things, and what is my response to this, why am I watching this in the first place? And you start just questioning everything all of the time. Sometimes people think that's a waste of time. For me, it's the only thing to do. Is just analyze, just don't take anything at face value. Take everything with a huge pinch of salt and be optimistically suspicious. And really it isn't a case of finding out the goodness or the badness of the thing. It's just, how did they get to this conclusion? How did we get to this place in society? How did this particular thing become the daily narrative? Why is this in the daily news and not that? And ask these kind of questions. And as a child, we were many times put down for this. And when you had this as a child, you would have been shut up and put down for asking too many questions. You may have been celebrated for certain ones that you asked, which did help expand the family, expand the consciousness around you. It will really depend on who your primary caregivers were and what their charts looked like and what state their consciousness was in and how much fear that they held. But in a damaged, sort of unhealed state, you would be closed down for looking up. Don't look up. Don't look up at the stars. Keep your head down. There's a comedian, an Irish comedian, he says in Ireland you're just taught to look at the mud. Just keep looking at the mud. Don't look up, look at the mud. And it's this paradox of, but I'm here with this huge urge to expand, which is the most natural, normal human thing, which, as I've said in the introduction, happens to all of us at birth. We are all very much primed and prepped for the expansion process, and yet we are closed down, we are limited, and sometimes in our working environments we only expand to a certain point, and then we're closed down. There's a certain way of being, there's a certain set of ingredients, there's a certain transcript you're allowed to read from, which worked well once, and they want you to do that again and again, instead of having that creative urge to really explore and make mistakes and play. And so much in Aries is about playing. So don't allow life to force you to take it too seriously. Take your spiritual process seriously. Take your inner investigation seriously. Everything else is a game. Everything else is this external Maya that's just playing with you. And you can let it to a certain extent as long as you are conscious of what is happening. You can watch the ripples of consciousness all around you. You can watch the changing faces of people and then just see the deeper thing underneath it. The meaning why certain people come in your life and what you learn from them. Have a bit of reflection as an Aries. You know the suffix we put on the end of words when we want them to be more? Bigger, better, brighter, faster. This is always going to relate to the Jupiter function of something being more giant, more huge. And the world is a limiting place. How can you free your own binds? And it's always extremely saddening to me when I read a chart and it's a person who is an extremely emotional person, or an extremely sexual person, or an extremely family-oriented person, whichever of those kind of archetypes is very strong in the chart. And those very same people, they are the emotional one is the least connected to their emotions, the sexual one is the least connected to their sex, and the family one is the one that's cut all ties and is living alone and just completely disenchanted with the whole thing. And it's just a reflection that these are exactly the cards that we've been given to expand and explore, and many times they are exactly the things which are most badly wounded, especially as children, because we do come here to help these parents of ours who are in fact brothers and sisters with a good few years on us. There are equals, and we don't need to put them on pedestals, and we likewise don't need to allow them to pull us down. And we of course naturally did as children, so it's a big process of forgiveness, and then a process of engaging those, or turning over those stones which you were told were not allowed to be turned over, to exploring those gifts which you were not allowed to explore, or were shamed for exploring, or even parents get jealous of their children, and I understand why. You know, there's a certain connection children have to their true self, to God, to where we come from, to a spiritual life, and to a pure expression of emotions. And emotional expression is also key with fire. You want to just release the rage, release the warring energy, otherwise it will burn up inside of you. It's very funny, Aries types who say, I've never had a fight ever, you know, and they've managed to keep it under wraps, and I just think that's impressive, because Aries is like the least containable of all of them. It will just act, it will just carve its own path. And Jupiter actually sits very well here with that. It just means that it's bigger and more impressive and more out there. And I just beg of you, I ask you, can you align yourself more and more with something harmonious and peace-loving and boundless beyond form, not getting trapped in form and the ideas of a successful here and now life, you know, and dropping the attachments to the physical things and acquiring of physical things, and instead turn more inwards and turn to deeper, bigger, wider, more expansive concepts. It's a fool's journey as an Aries. It's a fool, and it's a lovely fool. It's a playful, witty, and inherently wise fool, because it doesn't have lots of concepts layered on top of it. So strip back anything you may have accumulated in terms of concepts about the world and what you're here for and your mission. As far as I'm concerned, all of our missions are to be as comfortable as possible in any given room, any given moment, at any given time. And to get there, it means to feel. It means to live within our bodies and not escape, and to be present as possible, humble as possible. And at the moment, most people are just avoiding that. So can you be the snowplow in this chapter of human consciousness? Can you be the bold and brave, beautiful Jupiterian that you were born to be? I'd like to see what you have to bring to the table. Because ultimately it doesn't need to be a very lonely life. It can be a life where we've learnt to be fully comfortable alone, learnt who we are as people alone, and then we can all come and share a table. That's progress. So thank you so much for joining me exploring this placement. If you have this placement, how does it feel for you? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and send me a message via the website ineffableelse.com, and follow me on Instagram. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.